And the nefesh bahamis is the animal soul that makes me want to do all sorts of crazy things. If we were to most clearly define the nefesh bahamis, it's the part of you that's just totally selfish. It's the part of you that wants to do things because it's going to be good for me. As opposed to the part of you, the godly soul that wants to do things because you want to bring God into the world. The nefesh bahamis, like we always say, just wants to go to the Bahamas. And the nefesh elokis, the godly soul, which we have not taught whatsoever, wants very, very deep, profound relationships, and it wants to bring God revelation into the world, and that will ultimately give you the greatest happiness. So look inside. Remember we said the entire Tanya is called what? The tale of two souls. The tale of two souls. That you have two souls. You have a godly soul and an animal soul. The animal soul wants to do all sorts of selfish behaviors, and every single moment of your day is a matter, this is called free will. Will I follow the desire of my animal soul and do the following out of a selfish motivation? Or will I do something for my godly soul and ultimately bring more God consciousness into the world? So for example, you wake up, you come to Shachris, right after Shachris, you get this feeling like, yeah, let's get some ice cream. Okay, where is that desire coming from? Depends. So it really depends. Now, it could be that it's coming from your godly soul, that somehow that ice cream is really going to help you to settle you, and you really want to do all the kavanos of making the bracha on ice cream and galida and gematrias, and really, or maybe you want to take somebody out and just, for that 15-minute slot, have an ice cream. He needs a friend to talk to. You're going to make a kiddush Hashem by having the ice cream with him somewhere in the rova. Or you think to yourself, I really need an ice cream. I'm going to go sit in the middle of the rova when all the girls are walking by while I eat my ice cream, because I really need the protein because it has protein in it. So really it is for you, Hashem, because I need to have energy in order to learn Torah well today, and I'm sure it's going to help me to have that ice cream bar, and you make a whole shtickle Torah in your head. So you have to know, why am I going for the ice cream? So really it's one of two options. It's either from the godly soul or from the animal soul. Some things will be much easier to know. If the person says like, okay, come to the clubs. Okay, so he might say, I gotta go do kiruv. I gotta go do kiruv. I'm sure it's from my godly soul. I have to go to this, really VIP nightclub. I'm gonna do kiruv. It could be that the godly soul is pushing you to go to the club, but likely, if you're honest with yourself, you just want that club life. Every moment of life is going to be an opportunity to choose between my godly soul and my animal soul. The animal soul, and that's what we're going to focus on now, is the seat of all your negative character traits. And therefore, the more that a person invests in his animal soul, even if he doesn't realize it, but he just makes decisions from his animal soul all the time, he's caught up in the world of just pleasures and selfish things. Even if he's not a bad guy, he's just always indulging his animal soul, indulging his body consciousness for its own sake. He will stoke the fires of the powers of the animal soul, and that will create more bad midos. And therefore, he'll be someone that's more likely to get angry or impatient if there's no more, let's say there's no more ice cream that day in the store. So he might be like all ruffled, like, oh no, it's not, like, you ever go to a store and like you really wanted something to be there, it's not there? That's basically what's happening in America nowadays. It's horrible. So the animal soul person is like, no, it can't be, because I need that thing. The godly soul is like, pivot, okay? I'm sure God has a plan why that thing is not on the shelf, and I can, and it's not about that thing per se, it's about the experience in bringing God into the world so you can flow with it more. So let's investigate a little bit more of the nature of the animal soul. I'm just going to read from Ach again, just so we have it clear. Ach bir ha'inyan al pi masha kosev Rav Chaim Vital Zal b'shar kedusha u'be'etz Chaim shar nun perek beis delakol ish Yisrael echad tzaddik ve'echad rasha. Every single Yidla, whether he's a tzaddik or rasha, yesh shtei neshamas, he has two souls. Dirsiv neshamas ani asisi, I made souls. The beginning of the verse of Iyov is talking about one person, and then it says, I made souls. Shein shtei nefashos, which are the two souls of that one person. We all have two souls. So nefesh achas mitzad haklipa, the sitra achra, remember we talked about that last time. One of your souls is coming from the klipa, the sitra achra. We said klipa means the shell. Klipa means the counterfeit lifestyle. Just like the shell conceals the fruit, the shell of the orange convinces you that I'm the fruit. But if you ate a bunch of orange shells, you would get sick. The real fruit, you have to peel away the shell and get to the inner, to the paninius. The whole way of klipa is that it fools you to believe that it's the purpose itself. But everything deep, you have to peel away the outside. The whole world, this world is like klipa city. The whole world is just convincing you that the purpose of life is to buy that Chevy that has some girl sitting on the trunk because she told you if you buy this car, you'll somehow be happy. So we think, yeah, she must be telling me the truth. I'm sure she doesn't work for Chevy. She really is telling me the truth. If I buy this body spray, that all the girls are going to come and want to have a date with me. I'm sure the marketing industry has no agenda here, and they must be telling me the truth. So all of those lies is the world of the klipa, is the world of the nefesh bahamas. The nefesh bahamas says, if you just invest in your body, you'll just be so happy for its own sake. By the way, this was the Greek approach. Just invest in yourself for your own sake, and everything else, you don't need anything else. We'll talk about this more towards Hanukkah time. Now, where do you find that animal soul? We find it in the blood. And we explained last time what that means. The blood is that most fundamental physical part that gives my body animation. That's why the nefesh bahamis is that part of me that gives me this animation that makes me feel all pumped up. That's why when a guy is all pumped up and revved up, his animal soul is pumping. Adrenaline is a big part of the animal soul. Now you can use that, you can harness that. The animal soul is not a bad thing per se, but if it's left to its own accord, it just turns a person into an animal. Literally, like an intelligent animal. We have to make a note of this. Our animal soul is different. You might say, so what's the difference between me and a monkey? Our animal soul is different than the monkey because our animal soul is made up of 10 spheres, 10 powers. Whereas the animal soul, the baboon, is not made up of intellectual powers. What I mean by the 10 powers? Chabad, you guys have probably seen this. You went to a spot one time in your life. I'm sure they have this. You know what drawing it is? Okay, the spheres. So, Chachma, Das, Chesed, Tiferes, Netzach, Yisai, and Malchus. Okay? These are intellectual. Chachma, Das, intellectual. These are emotional. And this is action-oriented. We're going to get much more into detail on this as we go through the Tanya. Chachma, Bina, and Das are intellectual. Your animal soul is intellectual as well. Whereas the baboon is not making intellectual decisions, rationalizing why he should, bang his chest and get that other Miss Baboon. But a human animal soul will contrive and manipulate and do all sorts of wild things just to get the desired outcome, and will make plans and strategies and intellectually rationalize why he should do certain things. And we mentioned an example of this, like the guy that told me, I have to play 8 hours of Fortnite a day because I saw a study that said that playing that much video games helps your hand-eye coordination. And I might want to be a pilot, and therefore it's justified for me to miss 2 Siddharma of Yeshiva a day to work on my hand-eye coordination and play Fortnite. It's a good intellectual argument, right? No! It's the animal soul's intellect just justifying you being a Baal Taiva and enjoying playing Fortnite and ditching learning. Yeah, done.
These 10 spheros, they're for the Yetzer Tov, but this Jaffa, that is for the Yetzer Hara.
Yeah. So your animal soul has these 10, and then the animal soul comes from the Siddhartha, and then there's another system, another whole soul, that there's the 10 on the side of the godly soul. These on the animal soul are always pushing you towards doing things that will just be selfish, like chesed, for example. Chesed means just flow, unbridled flow, no borders. So on the side of the animal soul, that would be like an illicit relation. An illicit relation is, I want to bond with you. I want all the borders to go away. Except it's not sustainable, it's not healthy. It's chesed that has fallen. Or a person looking at things that he shouldn't be looking at because I want to bond, I want to connect. But really, if you wanted to have true chesed on the side of the godly soul, it would be with someone's spouse. It would be a person doing real chesed in a healthy way. So each side has their own entire system. The theme of the animal soul, the entire system is a selfish system, and the godly soul is a system that's bigger, it's altruistic, it's unification with God, it's bringing Hashem into the world, it's for other people. Yeah, there.
If someone is naturally very based in one of these spheres, does that mean on both the side of the good and the other side they're going to be more, somebody who's very good at chesed in a good sense is also going to struggle with it on the other side?
Yeah, generally what you'll see is that exactly that, is that let's say a person has a lot of chesed, so he has to be careful that his chesed is used in the right way. He has to be careful of making sure like he doesn't just want to have relations with everyone, and that he has that potential, to have a really deep relationship, but he'll have to balance gevura to stop the animal soul of expressing the chesed and allow the chesed to express itself on the godly soul side, which is a very healthy expression of deep, let's say, bonding with one's wife. We're going to see more of that now as we explain more the anatomy of the animal soul. Yeah.
Is there anything that's in the middle?
So there is, it's called nefesh maskelis. There is a soul that creates kind of a communication between these two souls. It has a lot to do with free will. But you're always going to be in this place where you are either choosing from this, the animal soul, which is a selfish, it's all about I, meaning me, or the godly soul, which is about helping other people, which is about connection to God, which, by the way, ultimately will be the best for you. When do you feel the happiest? When you do something selfish or when you help somebody else? Isn't that a funny thing? It's seemingly counterintuitive. I should be the happiest when I did something that I like. No, when you actually did something uncomfortable, and you went to help somebody else, and you went to go pack some food, or to visit an orphan, or you went to visit the elderly, and you might not have eaten the best food, you might not have been so rested or so pampered, but you just feel so much better. The answer is that when you operate from the godly soul, you will be happier for you also. But that's not the motivation. The motivation is not like, I should really go visit these orphans because I really want to be happy today. The godly soul doesn't think that way. The godly soul said, the animal soul might think that way. And the animal, exactly, it's like a double, it's comedy. You see the animal soul is like a sophisticated, mastermind, diabolical genius. but you can harness the animal soul in that way. If he's going to get you to go visit an orphan, even though it's that the animal soul is really because it's going to be for my good, go, because you'll be doing a good thing. Eventually, we want to train you to go visit an orphan because that's the right thing to do.
Would that act of going to the orphan be considered a totally good act if you did?
So we're going to explain that even the animal soul of a yid has good inside of it. Not the greatest good, not the good of the godly soul, which we'll get to, but it has a good that's inside of it. So let's decode the animal soul a little bit, and we began last time. That's right. Umemena, 4 lines from the bottom. Boys kol hanezrois. From the animal soul begins all the evil traits of a person. Me'arbi yasoyus roim shabbat. That the 4 elements, spiritually speaking, are found inside your animal soul. Your animal soul is made up of the spiritual quality of fire, the spiritual quality of earth, the spiritual quality of air, and the spiritual quality of water and fire. 4 elements. Is that how it is over there? Yeah? We'll have to talk afterwards. Everything is drawing from us. So I wonder how they explain that. Maybe
We have to watch out on Tanya.
maybe one of the writers learned Tanya.
His Uncle Ira, he's a rabbi. He's very accurate.
He's a rabbi.
Uncle Ira.
I should wonder about it.
Spirit world.
Okay, we'll have to see.
We're all avatars.
So let's go through them one by one.
Must be the Valentine's.
That's right. The Hainu Kas, the Gaiva. Where does your anger come from? And your Gaiva, your haughtiness. Miyasoid ha'esh comes that your animal soul is made up of these 4 elements, and the first one is fire. So it doesn't mean that there's a burning fire, literally. But it means that what is the spiritual qualities of fire?
Consuming.
So it consumes. When a guy becomes angry, he's out of control. He destroys everything. Now, by the way, just so you guys start thinking about this, what is the quality of fire on the side of the godly soul?
He said passion.
Passion. Spreading. Goodness.
Good vibes.
Good vibes. Warm. When you have a good fire, you can warm up by the fire. You know, you're harnessing fire. Fire is also interesting. It converts. It doesn't just, it can destroy evil. If fire can be, it can burn and can convert. It can take something and turn into, it can cook. That's right. Fire on the side of goodness. Just go to Rav Zucker's shul for Shabbos. It's fire. Come down with us by Rav Meyer. It's fire. It's mamish warm in there. It's warm. Just have to mention it because you guys are all from the mature. Last year on our Tzfat trip, it's just so in it. I'll save it. Okay, save it.
What?
We have to come back.
Yeah, you'll come back. We'll talk about it now. Okay, weiter. V'taivus v'tanugim. Wasn't the time. V'taivus hatanugim. What is that? A person who is, he has a bad character trait called, he just has taivas for just geschmack of things, and he can't stop himself. Pleasures.
Geschmack things is good or bad?
Well, on the bad side, it means, sorry to use a language, pornography, because it's pleasurable, and he just wants to do that. It means he sees the golden arches, and he can't stop himself. I mean, that's called tray food, if nobody knows. Yeah, okay. The Mickeys. He loves pleasurable things, so he womanizes because he likes just pleasure too much. Taivas are generally pleasure related. Okay? So where does that come from? Yisoid hamayim. That comes from water. Now why would that be? So water, the Baal Tanya says, Ki hamayim matzmichem kol minei tanug. If you don't have water, you have a desert. All of a sudden, water comes to a desert, and the desert landscape blooms. And all the pomegranates start growing, the grapes start growing, and everything's luscious, and there's water, and there's streams, and it sounds almost like a beer commercial. There's almost no commercial, I remember from a past reincarnation, growing up, that doesn't have like water, wet. It's just, there's like water everywhere. And like the beers are flat, like everyone's like wet. Like why is it all wet? Because water is taiva. Okay? They don't try to sell you something like with a desert landscape and everyone's like parched. What is like the Coca-Cola with beads of wet stuff? Like, yeah, I need, because I'm feeling like I need that. Because the wetness is all taivas. It's all taivas. Spas, it's all taivas. It's all, right? I don't need to elaborate. Okay, so on the side of holiness, that would be having holy relationships with your wife. That would be using taiva, but having pleasure, but in a real, meaningful way. That would be oneg Shabbos. Don't you notice that like we're into nice things? Read the Rambam on how you should buy food for Shabbos and what you should eat. He doesn't just say meat and wine. He says, that's right, spiced wine and marbled meats. Okay? That's mamish. You spend good. A Yid is supposed to go for it. Shabbos, even like out of your comfort zone, to buy nice stuff. Mamish. Nice bottles of wine. Good meats. Not like entry level. Like, let's go. Let's go. And the more you have, go for it. Even above your means you could spend. As long as it's L'Kavod Shabbos. What's a proof that it's L'Kavod Shabbos? You do it with other people. You say Divrei Torah at the table. You share it. It's with the king. You're enjoying it with Shabbos. And that's not a flex. You're not like concealing it from other people. You're not just sitting at the table talking about politics and just like drinking fancy scotch. Yeah. Because it happens to be Shabbos, so you have to buy all the stuff. Well, where's Shabbos? Yeah, it's Shabbos. We just get wasted. No! It's not Shabbos. You enjoy a little Tamu Ki Toiv Hashem. So that's enjoying the pleasures all in the right measure. There's a number of tzaddikim that I spent time with. They like good stuff on Shabbos. Good wines, good whiskeys, like good stuff. Like the stuff, whenever I go to the duty free, there's always like the stuff, like the first, the entry, and then there's always like a room in the back with like behind sliding doors. And in that room, it's like somebody already greets you. It's like, can I help you? I'm gonna sit down. There's usually a cigar. And then there's a room even behind that one. And everything is behind like thick glass, and there's like a single bottle of King James the 14th, Macallan, and you look at the price, or it doesn't even have a price, then you really know it's expensive. And there's like lights like shining at the thing from all sides. So, yeah, if you could afford that, I'm just saying, there's such a thing for Shabbos, or for your son's wedding. There's such a thing. Like, how would you drink that? Like bottoms up, boys. You have a sip. That stuff is otherworldly. You have a sip, and you would sit with it. You'd at least spend about 3.5 hours just in silence, and maybe go into a Baal Shem Tov Nigun at that point. If you didn't do that, your mom's just shagets. and you just wasted like 20 grand on a bottle of like, alcohol. And it's obvious you're just doing it for yourself. But if you really appreciate it, you go into this zone. And
if you could afford that, that means that next Shabbos you won't be able to afford as much.
you can't do totally irresponsible purchases. You can't take out mortgages to buy bottles of whiskey. You can't do things that are just reckless. But you could spend, and God says that if whatever you spend on Shabbos, He'll give you back and even more if you spent it for Shabbos.
What's better, tzedakah
That's what I
or
said.
stuff for Shabbos?
So the answer is both.
They say the same thing for tzedakah also.
Yeah, whatever you give, Hashem's going to give you back more, and you should give. The more you can give, the better. The more you give, the better. And the more you spend for Shabbos, the better. As long as it's for Shabbos. It has to be for Shabbos. Yeah?
The place we went rafting, the guy didn't used to be Shom Shabbos, but I think Rob Miller or someone else told him to. And they said that they ended up making more money because he was scared that he was going to lose money. But after a year, they checked the books and he made more money.
Yeah, then you close on Shabbos. We don't roll on Shabbos. You're not going to lose. You're not going to lose.
So, if you can afford it, even if it's for yourself, on Shabbos you should buy like nice wine.
The nicest, as much as you can afford. However, as long as L'Chavot Shabbos, I want to tell you a story, a famous story from the Duna Maggid, just to get this point clear. So the Duna Maggid said there was a very rich father, and the father was throwing a party. It was a certain accomplishment in his life that he had arrived at, and he had finished a tremendous amount of learning, and he wanted to throw a party, just a siyum. And he was already getting to an older age. There's such a thing when a person reaches 60, 70, 80, that you make a party, like celebrating life. And he had two sons. He had one son that was a little more wealthy and another son that was actually not so wealthy at all. And he told the sons, he said, I want you to come to my party. And just so you know, whatever you spend for my sake, for the party, I'll pay you back double. Pretty good. So the first son, who was a little more wealthy, he went out and he was like, okay. He started, highballing, buying all new Yeezys and all new, icing out, getting his wife all sorts of diamonds. He got encrusted teeth, bling everywhere. The kid, fancy hair, new white Rolex President's editions for everybody. Mamish, living it up large. Fancy Bugatti stuff to roll up there. And the second son didn't have, so he did a few things, whatever he could, but really he couldn't, do that much. And he actually, sadly, was not even in such a position to come in such nice clothing. So the first son is on his way to the party, in his entourage, and his Escalade and the whole thing, and he sees the other brother on the way. And he sees the other brother not, so good, but he's like, oh, you got stuff for the party, and gave him a bit of a smirk, look at us. He gets to the party, he comes to the father says, okay, welcome, so good to see you. Look, you guys look great. And the son's like, yeah, as a matter of fact, and takes out the bill of all the purchases and just, it's slides him the expenses, and he stayed at the Seitai on the way there, the whole thing. And he says, okay, no. In the meantime, the second brother comes up, pulls up to the party, and the second brother's, basically in rags and a little bit, something. And the first brother's kind of getting ready for the check to be written so he can, get to the party. And he says, Dad, I'm ready for the check. And the father says, there's no check. There's no check. So what do you mean? You said whatever I spend, for you for the party. I said, this wasn't for me. This was all for you. If you bought these things for me, if this was really for my honor, you would have never allowed your brother to come to my party looking like this. You did it all for yourself. I'm not paying you anything. So Duna Maggid said the same thing when a Jew buys for Shabbos. Whatever you buy for Shabbos, Hashem will give you back double. Which means if it's for Shabbos, you're taking care of everybody else. You're making sure that other Jews have what they need for Shabbos Kodesh. That they should show up to the party in an honorable way. Then it's really for Shabbos. And you need something? Oh, Maybe you see a Jew that doesn't have like a nice new shirt or a suit that's like, and you have it. If it's embarrassing that he would know, find another way to get him the money, whatever. Then you know you're really buying, and you're buying fancy bottles of stuff, and other guys are, that you know that he's like struggling. Find a way that doesn't embarrass. Make sure. Then you're doing L'Kavod Shabbos. You're sharing with other people. You're doing it all together. Then it's for the king. Gewaldig, right? Gewaldig. Gewaldig.
So Rebbe,
Yeah.
you go to someone else's house for Shabbos, like or Rebbe's house for dinner on Shabbos.
Okay.
You bring them a nice bottle of wine.
Yes.
You're not even bring it to the Rebbe. If you came to the king's party, in a certain, are you like, here my king, here's the bottle. So the king's like, yeah, for the party. Like, you can't even give somebody something on Shabbos. But you can't accept gifts on Shabbos because you can't make acquisitions. So when somebody brings something, you bring it for Shabbos. Now, by the way, I'm sure nobody here would ever do such a thing. But sometimes guys come like, Rebbe, I brought you this great bottle of wine. And then they keep it by their seat. And then you look and it's like, it just becomes empty. Like, well, it was so nice of you that you brought that for you, So, what was it for? Was it for Shabbos? So generally, yes, you would give everything to the king, and the king would make sure that everything is distributed in the way that the king would see fit. Right? The king, when you go to the king, yes, you give it to the king, but he's like, it's not about me. I'm just here to make sure that everybody has. Because you trust that the king is benevolent. So, when you go to Ichimayer, so yeah, you just move things towards the tzaddik, and then he makes sure that it all gets where it needs to go. That's why there's such a thing that tzaddikim take the resources and then they manage it. Give that tzedakah to the tzaddik, and he knows where things have to go from there. So that's Shabbos. If it's for Shabbos Kodesh or something, I'll give you. Are we thinking like that? Are we thinking like that? So that's what we said. Mayim, the taivas of pleasures. From the Nefesh Bahamas, it's just about my own pleasure. But it's coming from Nefesh Elokis, it's that deep pleasure, real pleasure. Oneg Shabbos, intimate relationships in a healthy way with one's wife, etc.
What's it called? Nefesh kiss?
Nefesh Elokis, like Eloki, like God. Nefesh Elokis. Those should be on the tips of your tongues. Nefesh Bahamas, Nefesh Elokis. Nefesh Bahamas, Nefesh Elokis. Yeah.
So you shouldn't drink like nice wines during the week. Stop.
So that would be a question. Like a guy says, this is a common thing actually, definitely amongst the more affluent. You find a guy at the Red Heifer on a Tuesday night, okay, or a steak and whatever that thing. What's it called? Bone and fox or wolf and steak or whatever that one is. Yeah, that one, the expensive one. So they see a guy like, modern guys, yeshiva guys, first you say, they're like, let's go for dinner. Let's drop like, $500 on our parents' credit card. On Tuesday night, like why not? There's some wine, it's nice. So the answer is, why am I going there? Why am I going there? If literally I just want to just take down some meat and take down some wine, and why not? I can afford it. So then you're just feeding Nefesh Bahamas. But if a person's going, and this is going to be good for, let's say, bonding with some friends, and this is going to be a good maybe reward, because I've just been learning shtak, like really learning in yeshiva. And you know what? I know that where I come from, when I just have a little bit of wine and meat, and we'll talk about that the Amoraim said that because they didn't have some good meat and some good wine, they couldn't understand shir as well. Because everybody knows when you have a bit of a good, fleischiks, you're like, yeah, feel good. You're more able to receive ideas, and you get back for night seder, and you play it out like I'm doing this with a purpose. And I maybe take other guys out, and maybe I even take a guy out that couldn't afford it, and I say like, because I'll pay for it, because I want, and I want to be, buddies with you, and I want you to feel included in this, and you do it with consciousness. So the answer is yes, it could be from the Nefesh Elokis. A Jew thinks, what am I doing, and why am I doing it? And if it's something that I just want to feed the Nefesh Bahamas, that will be coming from the Nefesh Bahamas. But if I want to do something for a higher purpose, then yeah, as long as it's kosher and there's no isser, then yes, you could turn the wolf and dog, whatever it's called, into a mitzvah gedola mamish. You could spend a night at the Waldorf Hotel. You'd probably spend more money than you would, need to spend. And it could be a mitzvah gedola because you're doing it for the right reasons, for the right purpose. Maybe that's the relaxation that you need in order to learn Torah better. And you could be with somebody else and enjoy company with them. And probably it means that you're not on your phone during the meal and just enjoying the company, enjoying scintillating conversation. You turn that not just into a mutter activity, into a mitzvah. By the way, that's a very Hasidic thing. So you know, Hasidim are usually hanging out around these places. Okay? Because we firmly believe, as has been given to us from the Baal Shem Tov and the Baal Tanya, made this famous, that anything which is permitted in halacha, if you do it with God, i.e. with the Nefesh HaLekis, it turns into a mitzvah gedola. A mitzvah gedola. However, if you do something as kosher as it is, as many, big old mashgichim are hanging out by the steakhouse, and as much Hebrew writing is on the packages, if you did it just to feed, the beast, it becomes part of the dark side and just strengthens God's concealment in the world. Because God, when He gave you the Torah at Mount Sinai and He told you to eat kosher food, He didn't mean just press out on kosher food. That wasn't what God had in mind at Mount Sinai. And this falls into the mitzvah called Kedoshim Tiyu. I didn't tell you to just press out because it's kosher and just to have, relations even with your wife all the time because it's okay to and it's not usher. There's a way to do things in a godly way. Okay? See the first Ramban in Kedoshim, Ayin Sham. Okay? So now let's go on to the next one. What's the next Yisod? Ve'hoilus v'leitzonis v'sparis v'dvarim b'telim v'yisod haruach. Next page. Hoilus means that everything is just like light. Leitzonis is a guy who makes fun of everything. A leitz, which is one of the most... a guy that makes fun of everything. A guy stands up and he says a real emotional thing. And maybe he speaks in front of a group and maybe he was nervous too. And then like he starts crying maybe. And he's really touching the heart. One guy's like, one little the whole thing is gone. In the moment, maybe somebody's building up a really big point and one guy just cracks a little, the whole thing is gone.
What if he does it to himself?
It also means that he's making himself cheap. He's making himself cheap. That's why it comes from ruach, air, because he's empty. He makes everything into empty, into nothingness. Nothing is heavy to him. Nothing is real. I heard the Rav Moshe Weinberger Shlita one time say over that he was giving it was a bit of a risky thing, he said. He was giving a class, a shiur, to an auditorium of high schoolers on the inyanim of Kedusha. On the inyanim of being a little bit more Kaddish. Oh yeah? And he was talking about, a little bit that, you have to be careful of what you look at, and you have to be careful. It's not okay to just, do whatever you just feel like doing. That's not what we believe. And he was talking about, being holy and saving oneself, and being married, etc. And if you don't have anything sacred now, and nothing's, then you can't make borders, then nothing will ever be sacred. Nothing will ever be sacred. So one guy gets up, he says, "Oh Rabbi, I can look at as many girls as I want." And he said, because the Gemara says that Rabbi Yochanan, when the women would come out of the mikveh, so there's such a thing that the first thing that a woman sees is something holy. Something holy. So he was more angel than man. He killed his evil inclination. And he would be there and they would see his face. And that would give them thoughts of holiness. By the way, that's one of the reasons why in our house we have pictures of rabbis and holy people, that we're all the time seeing holy things. I hope you don't have any fat heads still in your house, in your room, and some picture of Braun or some other, one of these guys, or Biggie Smalls on the wall. Get them out of there, because that brings images of impurity. We have images of those who have spent their entire existence becoming pure and holy. So he said, Rabbi Weinberger, I'm like Rabbi Yochanan. So they said, why was it okay? Because when Rabbi Yochanan did it, the women, he didn't even see women. They looked like white doves coming out of the mikveh. So he said, I'm like Rabbi Yochanan. All the girls in high school, they're like white doves to me. So I can look at them, I can do anything. We can be promiscuous. They're like white doves to me, Rabbi. I was like, so it was like a late, right?
Is he serious or not?
So whether he was serious or not, the whole 2-hour presentation in 1 second was like gone, because everyone's like, oh. So what? So he said it. God put something into his head at that moment to save the day. When you're at Tzaddik, like Rav Weinberger, so Hashem just saves you. So all of a sudden, God puts into Rav Weinberger's head the following. He says, oh, my friend, it's an amazing thing. When Rabbi Yochanan sees women, he sees, white doves. But the only problem is that you're not like that. Because even when you see white doves, you see women. And in 1 second, it was like, oh! And then Tzaddik was victorious once again. Of course, afterwards he came over and he hugged him, he kissed him, and now he's mamish the shtarkas yid.
So what's the wind of Nefesh Elokis?
So the wind of Nefesh Elokis. What do you guys say? No, let's just get defined. His parus. What's his parus? His parus is
Making lavi.
his parus is like haughtiness, to make a person seem like, pe'er means like glorified, beautiful. But it means you glorify yourself, but the things that you don't have. Guy, that means a guy is a bit of a hush of a guy, and he's like, oh, mamish, so hush. Okay, at least say Baal Hashem hush. His parts is like, you're mamish a nobody, but he's like, yeah, I'm mamish the man. That's why it's air. There's nothing there. And then Dvar B'Telem is a person who he talks about nothing. Nothing. Like the guy could spend hours talking about all sorts of things and nothing.
No substance.
Nothing. Not late sunnahs. He's not making fun. He's got
no substance.
There's no substance. Like for 4 hours, that guy's just hacking about this guy and this guy and this happening, this happening, this. And the Imam is like, what did you say? And he's got all his opinions, but none of it's based on anything. None of it's based, that's called Dvar B'Telem. So Kobe's asking beautiful. So what's on the good side? What's on the number air?
If someone's embarrassed, you can make it light. If someone says something embarrassing in public, you could make a joke or make
To
it
save the
light.
day. Beautiful. That would be a beautiful example. You could save the day. You can make light of what mamish hurt that person to diffuse the embarrassment. The Tzfarim bring that air is like so ethereal. So a person who has a lot of air is somebody who can learn a lot of Kabbalah, because he can learn sublime, very spiritual topics. So a person, that's why, of course, I hope you're starting to pay attention to this, is that there's 4 holy cities in Israel, right? And they also correspond to the 4 elements. What are the 4 holy cities? Yushalayim, Tzfat, Tveria, and Chevron. So what's Yushalayim? Eish. Eish HaTorah. Eish. The Mizbeach is Eish. You come to Yushalayim, it's fire. Everyone is mamish, moving, lebedik. It's not like it's quiet around Yerushalayim. The middle of the night, I'm by on a vision. It's like 12:30. I was with our dear friend Jordan. So we're hanging out at Vision. It's at like 1 in the morning. He was over at my house. We were just hanging out. Actually, we had some steaks and stuff. Hanging out a little bit, learning, and then we let's get mine. 1 in the morning. We're just walking into vision. It's late. What are you guys doing at 1 a.m. on a Tuesday? What are you guys doing? It's Yerushalayim, everything. Go to Zichron night. It's all night long. Leibeduk. Go to Ichimar's in the middle of the night. It's a party over there. Sometimes making a see him. This guy's doing this. In the corner, the guys are just like dancing, like no. What? Don't you sleep? It's fire. It's fire. It's Yerushalayim HaKodesh. Which city is air? Tzfaz. Man, if you get into Tzfaz, obviously you're like, Kabbalah. The other side is though, ganja. Okay? You could float away in Tzfaz. So that's not doing the right thing. Okay? You see how it could go both ways? In Yerushalayim, a person can just go nuts. It's like too intense for people here. It's too fiery. What's ganja? You know, the stuff that makes you get up there. So what? Or you can go to Tzfas and you can mamish learn secrets of Torah. You're in the mountains. You get high. You get higher than all that stuff. You get insights, very high insights. What's water to vary? It's mamish on the water. It's on the water. Kinneret. Pleasures, everything around the Kinneret, the peros ginosar, fruits. It says that the peros ginosar were fruits. The ginosar is right on the Tiberia. The fruits of that region. The Gemara talks about them that they were so delicious, they were so sweet that if you ate them, they were like psychedelic. If you ate them, it says you couldn't paskin in a beis din. You couldn't make halachic decisions because you were mamish up there. It was like wildly pleasurable stuff. Imagine it was 60 times as sweet. Imagine a mango 2 times as sweet. You'd be freaking out. Imagine 3 times as sweet. You'd go nuts. 20 times as 60. You get the point. And of course, Chevron. That's the one we're up to now. Chevron. Va'atzlus miyusaida offer. Atzlus means a person is lazy, but it doesn't mean lazy. It means he just doesn't move. Atzlus. He's like, he's stuck. And atzvus is the D word, which is a red line that we never ever go. The D word, depression, atzvus. Ayid, it's a never go zone. We'll do anything, just get the guy up, get him moving. That's called uffer. That's just earth. He's just unmovable. So one of the best things, the guy gets into a zone, just get him out of bed. Let's go, let's move. Let's go do something. Let's move. By the way, the Sfarim point out that these 4 elements correspond to Yud Kei Vav Kei. Eish is the Yud, Mayim is the Vav, Ruach is the Hei Ilah, the first Hei of Hashem's name, and Afar is the Hei Tato, the lower Hei. Okay. That is the fabric of your Nefesh HaBahamis. And all your negative character traits will fit into one of these 4 areas. And you'll have to see. Now, and a person should start to think like, which of these 4 is out of bounds to me? And like we mentioned earlier, the bear said, if you've got a lot of fire, it means that you might have an anger problem, and you might have to deal with that. But it also means that when you can rein that in, you're going to be a passionate guy. You're going to be a davener. You're going to be a person on fire for Hashem. And if a person has problems with water and taivas, and he's going to be a very maybe beautiful lover to his wife, and he's going to be able to be very passionate. He's going to be able to appreciate the pleasures of Shabbos Kodesh. He's got to, okay? And if a person has atzlus, like he's prone for maybe just being like, it also means, by the way, I didn't mention, what's the good side of Afar?
Someone trying to get you to do something bad.
Beautiful, excellent, a stiff-necked person. The Jewish people are called stiff-necked. So on one side, bad, because we just If you don't change, you don't change. But it's good if somebody says, let's go worship an idol. No, thank you.
What about Hebron? Is Earth just the keter, or is there?
Yeah, when you go, when everything's the
The whole
cave,
city is like
the whole
Earth.
city is. When you go
Well,
there,
that's
when you go to heaven, you feel it. You're just like, even the people that it attracts,
You don't see green.
go to the people in heaven. It's like there's some very down to earth, like
It's also like
Second Amendment type people. Settle the land, be here. The patriarchs are there, like literally solid. It's very planted. It's very it's rocks everywhere, like very. You're there, the caves of the patriarchs. Okay. Now we have to take this one step further. Again, this is very mathematical. Tanya is, they call him the Litvak of the Chassidim because it's extremely intellectual stuff. So, we're moving fast, but I want to make sure that you're getting all the steps. In the Nefesh HaBahamis of a Yid, there's also natural good qualities, but not as good as the good qualities of your godly soul. Okay? V'gam midas toivus shebeteva kol Yisrael, also, there's good qualities in the Nefesh HaBahamis, like the Gemara said in Yevamos Ayin Testament Aleph, Kamay Rachmanis, the Goyim Chasonim, Baishonim, that Yidden have a natural amount of kindness that we do. There's nobody that does kindness. The amount of chesed organizations that we have. You guys know what a gemach is?
yeah.
We give away free things, like a free services. There's gemachs for everything in the Yiddish world. It is an unbelievable thing. You need something, name it. Dam, you need dam. We have blood. We have people to call. They will give you, blood transfusions. People give away kidneys. Tons of Jews give up their kidneys. You need a pacifier. Your kid is not taking a sip. Oh, don't worry. In building 124 in the electrical box, there's 30 sterilized, packaged pacifiers because maybe your baby's not taking the one with that type of a shape. Don't worry, come on by. Pick one out, it's free. And just return it and we'll sterilize it and give it to the next person who needs it. Really? Yeah. Building 124 in the electrical box on the 4th floor. You need mother's milk. Women have, in my neighborhood, have freezers filled with mother's milk for women that can't produce enough, that they want to make sure that their babies are getting mother's milk and not maternal. And there's a gemach, we will give you mother's milk. There's a gemach that they always come around to collect for people that don't have enough to buy chickens. There's a freezer, huge freezer in my neighborhood. I live in the same neighborhood with Rosh Shiva. Huge freezer that they always just stack it with chickens. Anybody who ever needs meals, there's always chickens there. You just come, take chickens. You have chickens, food for people that need food. Anything, everything. In America, we had a number of guys that their mothers ran like these huge, like clothing amounts, like nice stuff, free. That you come in at certain hours, and the women can come and feel dignified. That they can come and get designer things, free, tons of stuff. Unbelievable things. The amount of money we give away is unbelievable. Huge amounts of money people give away. Like, not normal. I always mention that growing up they had these things called telethons. Telethons were like, you get some, famous guy like Bono or somebody, he'd be like, kids, just for $1 a day, you can help support these starving children in Africa. And we're trying to raise, grand total of like, $18,500. I'm like, Bono, dude, why don't you just foot the whole thing? And they need a lot more than that. And it's like, we're almost at our goal. So, you know what happened when we came from Europe and Jews were rebuilding communities? People who they wanted to rebuild certain communities and shuls. The rabbi gets up, you have to rebuild shuls. Who's giving? $80,000, $100,000, $200,000, $500,000. Jews give everything. We mamish give tons of money away. Somebody said, yeah, LeBron also gives. It was like he's a very philanthropic person. So he said, yeah, he gave away like $15,000 or something. Or like he gave, like the Guy makes so much. What is he doing with that? Give it away, LeBron. Step it up. If you give away 99% of your income, you could still live like a king. You could still live like a beyond what you could imagine. Give it away to people in need.
Is there a chiyuv to do that?
It's not a chiyuv. You have to give away 10% and really 20% if you can.
Oh, you're not supposed to give more than 20%.
No, you can give up to 99% as long as the 1%. If you make let's say people who make $500 million a year. Let's say they make $100 million a year. 100. There's people like that, and it's not uncommon nowadays. If they gave away 99%, can you live off $1 million?
Yes.
I think that's pretty good. $1 million salary a year. You can give $99 million away. You have to make cheshbon. You can't put your family into poverty because you want to make sure that other people have money. But you don't have to stop at 20. 20 is that now it's going to be too much. We give, and it's natural that we give. So these qualities are also from our animal soul. That's why the animal soul feels so much like us. That's why we have these qualities also, that we do these things. Rahmanas means we're very compassionate. There's a certain natural compassion. Look at the pop-up hospitals. Israel sends out relief everywhere. Israel's always the first people there to help. Hatzalah. Even the Hatzalah. Hatzalah. We love, Jews want to just volunteer ambulance service. That's the most coordinated, life-saving service in the entire world. Within minutes, there will be a Yid there to help save a person's life. It's unbelievable. It's just like part of us. It's part of our DNA. These qualities, though, if they're from the animal soul, they're amazing, but they still don't have the full power of the godly soul. That's the next chapter. But they're amazing. Weiter. Bois v'menu ki bi Yisrael nefeshu the klipa, even the nefesh Bahamas, he me klipas noiga. There's 4 types of klipas. There's 4 types of shells that conceal God from the world. It's called the shelish klipas tameis, the 3 totally impure shells that goodness is completely concealed from. And then there's a 4th klipa called klipas noga, which means a shining shell, which is a shell, which means it conceals God, but it has something that's shining, which means there's good and concealment all together. So the good is not fully good because it's concealed by concealment. Okay? Sheyesh bagam kein toiv. V'hi misoid eitz hadas toiv v'ra. This is the secret of what's called the eitz hadas toiv v'ra. Remember, we learned in Gan Eden that Adam was told that there's a tree there. Eitz hadas toiv v'ra. Lo sachan, be careful of this tree. Go to the tree of life. Don't eat from that tree. That's the tree that is a mixing up of good and evil. You become confused. So there's good there, but the good is concealed. It's not fully good. You need to pull away the evil. That's why we have a hard time knowing, like, really, what should I do? But the tree of life is complete God awareness. So even in the Nefesh Bahamas, there's also a good there. Okay? And that's why we'll do all these things and give tzedakah, but it's not full good. The example that I like to use is that a person will give tzedakah, but you'll say to him, so you want to donate to this building, this community center? He's like, yes. I say, what if we don't tell anybody that you did it? Ooh, yeah. What if we won't put your name on the outside? You still want to give?
It's way better that way.
So the Nefesh Elokis wants to do that. The Nefesh Elokis one, he doesn't care. The Nefesh Bahamas says, no. I'm going to give $1 million, but like, I like seeing that name. I like that. Or maybe even a higher level of good is I want to give to starving people because I can't bear to see them starving. So the giving is really for me, even though I'm giving. The giving from the godly soul would be, it's the right thing to do. I feel for starving people. I want to help them. Not because I can't sleep well at night knowing that I've got money in my bank and I could be saving people. It's good. Thank God you're giving that money. But there's a higher good. We're not telling you to do this today or tomorrow, but I'm starting to show you the realm of these two souls and how they operate. Okay? Masha Enke. This last part is an important nakuda, which is not the case. Nafshas umas oyv de gilulim. Evil nations of the world, that all they're occupied in is concealing God. Hey mishar klipas tameas. They come from the three impure shells, which means their whole purpose is just to conceal God. Whether they tell you that or not, you interview a guy in the streets of Tokyo, like, what are you doing today? Why are you doing it? So he might say, I want to support my family and be an honest, upright citizen. Why? So if he doesn't say to reveal God in the world, then he's just concealing God in the world. So that's what it means, that their nafshos come from the shalosh klipas of Tameas, because good means revealing God in the world. And even if you say, but they're doing good things, it's always what we say in the business world, I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine. I'm doing good because I want to get something back. I was nice to Tom because you owe me one. And those that are not that are doing altruistic good, we call them righteous Gentiles, and they will be going to the world to come. They have a spot in the world to come. They will have eternal life. I just finished this point that he says, She'em ham toiv klal means there's no revealed good. The kol tiva the abdin umas oiv the gelulim, the good that they do, the garmayu avdin. They're doing it for themselves because I'm going to get a favor back. The good that those evil people do, it looks like it's good, but it's a chatas. It's tainted with sin. Why? Shekol tzedakah v'chesed she'umas oiv degelulim oisin eina elis yarba. They're doing it in order because they're going to get something on the deal. It's all that they can look good. It's all that they're going to have something coming back to me. Yeah.
You can still know what the right thing to do is, like to give because you actually want to help people, but at the same time, everybody still has that tava inside that, like, oh, I want something in return.
So that's beautiful.
So what do you do in that?
Beautiful.
In that case?
All of that is from the Nefesh HaBahamis. All of that. This is big. The next chapter is a game changer. That there's a reality that a person can do something totally altruistic. That's called Nefesh HaBahamis. That a person can get to a consciousness, don't let anybody tell you otherwise. A person get to a consciousness that he dissolves into the right thing to do. He really cares about a person, that's why he's giving the money. He doesn't care about anything else. This is a godly thing to do. This is the right thing to do. It's the truth. So he's connected to it because it's the truth. Not because of any kickback he's going to get.
It's like a family member. Like a family member need money, you're not doing it for any other reason besides you really want them to have money. And
That's right. That's a very good example. It's just it's just a natural, it's just the right thing, and I love you, and it's not, there's no kickbacks, there's no alternative motives. It's mamish, this is the right thing. That's called the world of the godly soul. Now we're going to explore that world. We haven't even touched that world yet. In summary, we explained the animal soul. We explained that it's the source of all the midas rois, all the bad midas. We explained that it's all about selfishness. And we explained that even though that it has runs of tov inside there, but that tov is not fully tov, it's tainted because it's to get some kickback, even though it can be on higher and higher levels. But the ultimate, which is a new category entirely, is the world of the godly soul. B'ezrat Hashem, we should deserve to touch that. Amen.
Amen.
Continue to